Welcome to another edition of Ashe. I'm your host, Mother Imakhu, Shekamet. The Jena 6. For those of you who have been under a rock, didn't get the memo, don't watch the news, the Jena 6 has been a really hot button topic in not only in the black community, but across the nation, in fact, across the world. Once again, we see how racism has reared its ugly head in the good old US of A. And many people are talking that folks who have come together, our community which has come together to support the young men who have, as we feel, unjustifiably been brought up on charges that were not really commensurate to the crime, many people are saying that this is the rekindling of the movement. Well, for old head warriors like me, I say, where have y'all been? This is really a discussion not only about what is happening today with the movement, but also where the racial climate is in this country, and have we really progressed as far as people think that we have? We have a very special panel joining us today, and I'm very pleased to bring these fine people who are artists and activists to Ashe, beginning with artist-activist who is known as the Black Warrior, Sister Karen Hatter. Many of our audiences are familiar with Sister Karen Hatter, who is social commentator on AKERU Radio and also here for Ashe. And she is also columnist for AKERU New African Magazine and NowPublic.com. Brother George Cook, artist-activist, founder and creator of Let'sTalkHonestly.com. And Prince Amen, who's full red. Let me give you all your energy now. Amen Sutan, who is another fellow artist activist, and I'm very pleased to welcome you all today. How's everyone today?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Sister Karen, why don't you give us a brief synopsis of what happened in Jena, because believe it or not, not everybody is up on this tip.
I find that difficult to believe, but it's possible. It was in December, I believe December 4th, 2006. There was a beating, and as a result of this beating, there was a white student who was beaten, and there were 6 black students. They were all students at Jena High School. And initially, the district attorney had charged all 6 of them with attempted murder. And unfortunately, this was seems to be standard practice according to the residents there, that there's always this heavy-handed, uneven distribution of so-called legal justice. But eventually, the charges were downgraded, and the young men were charged with, I believe it was aggravated second-degree battery. But the victim of the beating, there was an outcry because in order to make the charge of murder or attempted murder, you had to name a weapon, and the district attorney named the boys' sneakers as the weapon, and so from December 4th, I believe it is, up until what was that? When did they let him out? What date did they let him out? The 20th? Was it the 20th? No, that was the day of the march.
A week later?
About a week later.
27th.
The 27th was when they let him out. But from December of 2006 to September around 27th, they finally let him out. The problem was that until the district attorney had entered whatever charges, he had to decide, first of all, the conviction that he had won in court had been thrown out by the Supreme Court. That was thrown out September 14th. So from the 14th to the 27th, Michael Bell, the very first member of the Jena 6 to be prosecuted, he was sitting in jail for those days while the district attorney was trying to decide what he was going to do, supposedly, right? But the idea is that until the DA decided to appeal the conviction or go forward and take it to juvenile court, the premise was they couldn't have an actual bail that could be set. So he had to go through this process again. And so for 13 days after it had been thrown out, he still sat in jail. So today he is actually in court to begin the process of being in juvenile court. I believe he's charged with the same thing, aggravated attempted second-degree battery and some sort of a conspiracy charge. But he's supposed to be in court today.
Now, on the 20th of this month, there was a call put out by radio personality Michael Baisden. Let me flip that. There was a call put out on for the 20th, put out by Michael Baisden for our people to converge upon Jena, Louisiana, as a stand of protest, and also that for people who couldn't make it to Jena, that protests would take place in various locations around the country, which is exactly what happened. And in fact, I'll tell you, we Jerseyans, we get around. Brother George Cook not only attended the protest that was in Washington, D.C., he also spoke. And so why don't you tell us what it was like for you there to see everyone gathered?
We were surprised by the turnout first. We weren't expecting any more than 400 or 500, and we got between 2,000 and 2,500, and our breath was taken away, because I was kind of nervous at first. I knew it was going to be a crowd, but when I got up to speak, I look out at 2,500 black faces looking back at me, and all of a sudden, I got the energy to speak. The nervousness was gone. It was a beautiful thing. Everybody was there. It reminded me a little, I told you before, the Million Man March. But like I said, I don't want to say celebratory, but everybody was in a good spirits, good mood, and like you used the word rejuvenated. That's what it felt like. The movement had been rejuvenated, and people they were all in the same spirit from 6 to 60. It was a beautiful thing.
Now, what was interesting to me was when I asked you in particular about the youth factor. When we spoke, when I interviewed you for the radio, you were saying that this whole group of high schoolers all of a sudden appeared.
It was like it was something like out of a movie. You know, the heroes come over the hill. Everybody's looking this way, and all of a sudden these kids, Covington High, they had black shirts made just for the march. 100, 200 kids. All of us, they come walking in from the back of the march. Everybody turns around, starts clapping, cheering, and they walk in. They don't stop at the back. They walk all the way to the front, right by the stage and everything, and they're clapping, cheering, and they stayed for the whole thing. They didn't come in, make a token appearance, and leave. They stayed for the whole march. It was beautiful. It was a complete surprise. It was funny because somebody had made a comment. You think more schools would be here, and it was like somebody was listening. Okay, here's your cue. Let's go. They all came over the hill. It was a made for. If you were a writer writing that for TV, somebody would tell you that's too corny. We can't use that. And that's just how it happened.
But now you also said that it was very grassroots.
Very. Angelique Lewis. I finally got her name right. Angelique Lewis is the woman that did this. She did everything on her own. She wanted to do something, and she knew she couldn't make it to Jena. She had been on my website, so what she had done, she used the interviews I had done with an activist in Jena, Alan Bain, to explain to her audience what was going on. And then she was planning this march. She needed stage, because you can't get your permit, whatever, until you have the necessary equipment. She called me the Friday before. She was completely panicking. She didn't know where she was going to get all this from. And then a local motorcycle gang stepped up, black riders. Not only did they step up, they stepped to help with the stage, equipment. Another young lady who wanted to be there, she couldn't be there, and she begged her husband not to take this planned trip, this vacation he had. He said, nah, I'm not giving this money back. So she donated a lot. And then the bikers themselves said, we'll do security. They patrolled her. I mean, the Capitol Police basically got a nice little overtime thing. They had nothing to do. So it was a nice thing.
Well, grassroots. I mean, I'm a real advocate for grassroots effort for our being able to do for self. And just with the sharing of that story, with how that sister was able to pull things together and how people responded, it was truly inspirational. I mean, at least for for someone like me? I mean, I can't speak for the rest of you, but what are your comments on it, Brother Amen?
Well, this is another myth buster that we don't stick together. And it's usually the grassroots that get things done. The politicians, what can you say about them? They're politricks. But this whole thing, you know, people took this incident, a lot of people that I spoke to, they act like they were surprised. This has been going on since the beginning, since we've been here. But this should be a rallying cry for this to be an ongoing thing, because genocide is going on all over the country, not just down south. Right here in Jersey, right across the water in New York.
Now, many people are surprised when they hear that Jersey, New York, brother, I mean, as you call it, up south, right? That these kinds of things take place up here. But I lived for 16 years in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. I did not know I was moving into the seat of Klan country at the time, literally, okay?
Jersey?
Yeah, New Jersey. And I mean, after signing the lease for this beautiful home, and with Warren County, it's so intoxicating to ride out with the rolling hills and so forth. Then after that, we got to ride around and see where we moved to, with the rebel flags and all. I mean, I was just, I couldn't believe it. And today, there's still many places in New Jersey where you'll see rebel flags. And I really say that New Jersey is known for overt and covert racism. But then, you know, here I don't want to hog all the time. I mean, can any of you share any stories that
I don't know if you know it, but the Southern Poverty Law Center, in their recent study of states with the most hate groups, guess who was number one? New Jersey. And Ohio is number two. You would think it would be states in the South. But it's states up here, like you said, it's more covert. And just so people know about New Jersey, driving while black was basically invented in New Jersey.
Definitely.
So just don't think because it's up north, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
I mean, look, there were plenty of times I was riding down the road, you know, when I had my children when they were small, in the back seat, riding the limit, and all these white drivers were whizzing past me, but who got stopped? I did. I didn't do anything, you know. And for almost every person that I know who drives that's in our community, there's a story about being stopped for nothing. So so let's talk a little bit more about the whole thing with overt and covert racism. What have your experiences been?
A recent experience. A friend of mine took me to see her friend. Guy, she admitted that he was supposed to help her get a job, and also she was so happy. He took me up to his office to meet him, and he's a constable, whatever that is, in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Can I say his name?
No. Just to be on the safe side.
Well, and I got witnesses. He told her, I don't allow black Americans in my office, you know, and he asked me to leave. Now I believe the constable's a public servant.
Right.
You know, and he told me that straight to my face. He don't allow black Americans in his office. Now, there's another twist to that story. This is a black man in the city.
What?
This is a black man in the city.
It's a confused black man.
Very confused. But that,
but
that police and that mentality, you know, is prevalent through that whole system. Not just the, you know, the white cops, but the black cops and people that's around them. You know, they see blue before they see anything else, the uniform. And actually, sometimes the black cops can be just as nasty or worse.
Well, this is true. And a lot of that is,
it's a mentality they get from being in that environment like that. There's, you know, we still have the head men on the plantation overseeing us. They're still here.
Well, if you take overseer and officer, they sound almost the same.
They certainly pretty close. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Well, Brother Warrior, you have a unique vantage point in a way because of the fact that your family immigrated here from Trinidad.
Yes.
You grew up in Brooklyn, though, right?
Yes, I came to this country in 1972. Most of my life. I don't want to mention how old I was, but I was a little baby. yeah. But I came in 1972, so I basically went to school in this country, and I've been doing music for a long time, all types of music. And when I started doing my individual music, my thing was always to address the ills of society and our world, and to try to find solutions. And right now, the way I see it, we tend to wait for incidents to pop up, and then we all jump up and try to do something about it. And it keeps happening over and over again. So we need to try to address the problems and try to find solutions, not just for one incident, but for us as a people on a whole. And so my thing is, what I'm doing through my music and through my activism is I'm trying to all the barriers, whether it be white, black, east, west, north, or south, Princeton, Harvard, or whatever it is, break down the barrier of separation, whether it be, and the main separation is religion. That we tend to gravitate to, and it seems, so my, and just kill all the ignorances, you know what I mean, that thing is, I mean, for those who believe in God, my thing is, we have to approach it from that aspect. Love is the most powerful weapon we have right now.
Well, I must tell you that there is a lot of discussion along with what is happening with what I like to call the rekindling of the movement, even though, like I said, there is also talk now about remarrying spirituality to the movement. Because in the 60s, it seems somehow we lost our way. I think because as a people we became so discouraged, a lot of people fell away from the movement. There were those of us who held on, to later activism and so forth, or holding it down from that time. But because so many of our diehard activists started buying into the whole thing with the Red Book and all this, and religion being the opiate of the masses, the spirituality got thrown out along with it. But we, as an African-centered people, cannot have any kind of movement without spirituality. And again, like you were saying, avoiding the separations, because there are activists who are Christians, who are Muslims, who are in the other new African traditions, and everybody is seeing themselves as separate. But the thing is that once we all realize we're all fighting for the same cause, once we put the isms and schisms aside, then we'll be able to, it hasn't gone anywhere, but yes, now it seems like there's a new energy, there's a rejuvenation. But there,
my saying is that God, because I base mine from a God.
To get somewhere.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I have this little thing that I tell people. Seeing that you believe in God. God is not going to judge you, in my opinion, by how many times you go to church, by how many times you open the Bible, or how well you know the Bible. My philosophy is that you are only going to be judged purely on your actions. So if you see someone fall down, you help them out. Like you see, like a brother's hungry, and he's genuinely hungry, you help him out. That act of helping, that's what's going to give you points with the Creator, and only that act. You can't fool God by going to church on Sunday and then Monday you go back to, So he's not going to say, well, okay, he's a Muslim or he's a Christian, So we need to get rid of those ignorances and just try to deal with the love part of it.
Well, love of self, definitely. And
Starts there.
If you love the Creator, then you have to learn how to love yourself, because the Creator is within all of us. Okay. But now, here has been my biggest beef with a lot of our, even our new African spiritual systems as they're expressed in this country. The whole notion of activism is not employed into their beliefs. They get their spiritual or religious training and they keep everything in-house, as opposed to taking the spirituality and going out into the community. But it seems as though with this situation with Jena that things might have changed. Now, with the change, here's my question. Do you think that this is going to last? I was talking with Brother George about this, and he was mentioning about the situation with the movie
Malcolm X. I mean, Malcolm, everybody had an X chain. They had the X. Everybody was, pro-black, all this, Kente Club. Right? As soon as the movie ran its course, those same guys are back on the street selling their drugs. It was like nothing ever happened. The Million Man March, it was a beautiful thing. 2 weeks later, back to the same thing. So I'm hoping that this time, because there's a lot more youth involved, this sticks and we get some traction with it.
Okay, so how do we make it stick? Don't shake your head. No hope. Well, see, like you have no hope.
As far as
No,
I'm concerned,
there's no hope. I'm sorry.
You don't feel there's
as
any
far
hope?
as I'm
No,
concerned,
of course not.
I think the major problem that exists with Africans in this country is the fact that we don't understand the history of the United States. We are totally clueless in terms of what it means to be individuals that were forced to be incorporated into the system. We were never, it wasn't like after X amount of years, you guys can partake of the table with us. That is not the plan. That was not the plan. The plan was, you guys are here to be beasts of burden. That's why you're here. Now, if they have supposedly allowed us to become part of this system, then we have to be ready to kick the doors in and make them let us participate fully in this process. If the concept is they're going to allow us to partake, then we have to be ready to step up and take things, because this is not about they are going to piecemeal and allow us to do things. See, if we come, or the United States as it exists today has come from a point in history where they had someone named Jefferson Davis declare that, hey, I no longer recognize this union, and I'm going to pull out these 10, 11 states with me, and we believe that this is how we want the country to look. Okay, those guys didn't die after the Union supposedly now moved forward after Lincoln. You have the remnants of those individuals and their families and descendants and people of like minds who still live in America. And that is why the concept of Jena is all over this country. You can find Jena in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, in New Hampshire, in Connecticut. It's not just down south, down deep south. So until the activism takes on the concept of, okay, we're in here now, and this system is built on the concept of Jena being what? A symptom of white supremacy and white nationalism. And that has to be straight up what everybody in this country understands. White people, black people, whoever is in here needs to understand that. Because this country was based on white people thinking they were better than the natives, they come in and take their land. They were better than us, so they came and took us and brought us from Africa and brought us here. So everybody needs to understand that until America faces that head on, we're always going to have a darn problem up in here.
We're going to pick up that point when we continue in the next show. We're going to be doing 2 parts. And picking up from there, we'll be talking about the concept of repatriation, among other things. But I want to remind our audience that you can visit the website for AKERU Radio. Please tune into AKERU Radio at www.akeruradio.com. You can also visit my website at, say it with me now, www.mwtshekemet.org. This is Queen Mother Imakhu, Mut Shekhemet, and we will continue the conversation of Jena and rekindling of the movement. Thank you all so far. Hold tight. We're going to swing on through. Claim your personal power. Shembotep, Ashe.